morning. How are you today? Well, every life is a story, and the story is shaped by the person, the circumstances, and the decisions that the person makes. I keep stuff, right? Like this, for example. Well, why would I need to keep this? Well, on the other hand, how much effort does it take to keep this? This is a badge that was on the uniform that my dad wore when he was a volunteer sheriff deputy in a county in Minnesota. Why wouldn't I keep it? I mean, I remember him putting this on. He'd go out on, I think, Thursday night. He'd be out all night long, and the next day around supper time he'd tell us stories of his escapades. I suppose that's probably why I became interested in stories, because my dad was good at telling stories. And usually they were wry or humorous. He never told us the dangerous stuff. I didn't think there was any dangerous stuff. He also was in charge of this night. So he was like, I don't know, brevet lieutenant or something like that. So he would be in charge of, the men, whatever that looked like, the volunteers. And at the end of the night, he'd write up reports about what happened while they were on patrol. Now, I don't know if he should have done this, but he kept them all. And I had a big bin of them, just full of these dry reports. The kind that are kind of bluish in color because they use carbon paper to copy them over. Anyway, I have them, and I read through most of them, and they are dry as toast. But there is one. So this took place mid-January 1972 in Minnesota. And it's written in, police lingo. 1/12/72, we arrived on the scene of a particular model of car, and who had crashed into a power pole and broke the power pole, and now the live power wires were swinging in the wind. And it was windy, 20, 30 mile an hour winds. Temperature below zero. Okay, think about that. Wow. And what had happened was this young male, approximately early 20s, white t-shirt, no jacket. The scent of alcohol was at the scene, so in other words, a drunk kid, early 20s, crashed that car into the pole, and then the car flipped over on its roof. And the kid was trapped in the car, and his arm was pinned between the upside down roof and the pavement. He was still alive, but his arm was pinned. And it was cold. Do you know how cold 20 miles an hour and 10 below zero is? Oh, man, that is cold. And the power lines swaying, just missing the car by this much. They touched the car, over. Well, they needed to cut the power before they could get that kid out, right? And informed by the people that it would be approximately an hour to an hour and a half before people could arrive on the scene. So it says in the report. Then it says, Officer Gleason. Now, I happen to know Officer Gleason. That's John Gleason. That's my dad's farm buddy. He looks at that kid. Now, John's a thin rail of a guy. Just over 6 feet, thin. weather beaten because he's a farmer, smoked cigarettes like this because this part of his hand was gone, lost in some farm machinery. Always had a joke. Fun guy. Never knew this part of him. He said, I'll get him out. Well, what did that mean? Well, John took off his utility belt so he could squeeze into the car, work his way across to where this kid was. And then the other officers were going to push down one end of the car just enough so the arm could be released, and then they could pull this kid out before he bled out or froze to death. So that's what they did. Carefully watching that live power line. The guys, ready, 1, 2, 3, push. And then underneath, he was able to get the kid's arm out and drag the kid to safety. These stories have no clean ending. I don't know the name of the kid. I don't know what happened to the kid. I'm assuming he lived. Did he learn his lesson? Did he continue a life of reckless abandon and die later? I know they saved his life. I know they went home, probably didn't tell their spouses what happened. I don't know why my dad would do that. Why would you go sleepless one night a week to do that? He was an engineer. I don't know that he really liked being an engineer. I think he wanted to do something else with his life. So he medicated that dissatisfaction by finding a hobby. I did a funeral for a man who was working at a grocery store at a meat counter. And everybody would line up to talk to him because he would give them great advice on how to cook this kind of meat or what to do or suggestions. There were other butchers there, but the line always wrapped around because he's the one they wanted to talk to. Well, his nephew said, well, why aren't you starting your own business? I mean, look at the opportunities. And this guy, approximately 50 years old, said, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life. Why would I take on that kind of risk? Why would I even do that? But the seed was planted. And 2 years later, he talked to that same nephew and says, you know what? Why don't I just start working for myself and see what happens? And so he did. And he started this specialty butcher shop, which is doing really well. And his life had a new chapter in it. But it started in his 50s, and it involved a real conversation with his own thoughts. And basically, the question was, why not? Why not be something different? Well, those two stories are for you to think about. You got years left. And I just want to make sure that the last years you get, whether it be 50, 40, 20, or 2, have the greatest impact and the most interesting stories. I'm Jeff Gould, America's Storyteller. Oh my goodness, we're running late. I'll let you go. Here's another video. Until we talk, God bless.